it's Singles Only podcast time. My name is Paul Farahvar. I am your host. This week's episode features comedian Joe Praino. Hilarious episode. So fun. We did it by Zoom. So if you're listening audio, go to my YouTube page at youtube.com/Paul F Comedy, and you can watch along. If nothing, just watch it for his mustache. It's one of the greatest in the comedy world. I will be at Stuck with Paul, Lincoln Lodge, December 1st, Wednesday. Check it out. Fun show with Kyle Scanlon, Stephen Haas, Sarah Perry, Adam Burke, and Andy Fleming. It'll be stand-up comedy, some sketches, and interviewing people as well. There might be some surprise guests as well. So get your tickets. I think I have a link on my website, or you can go to lincolnlodge.com and get the tickets. I think they're like $5. What a deal. We're just trying out some new stuff. It's a new format I'm trying to create, similar to Singles Only, interviewing, but just not limited just to dating. There'll be other cool stuff. I'll be at Dr. Grin's in Grand Rapids, Michigan that weekend. Then I'm in Plano, Dallas, Texas, House of Comedy, headlining on, what's the date on that? December 8th, and then featuring for my good friend Steve Simone the rest of the week. Upcoming dates in Chicago at Zany's, G-Man Tavern, Laugh Factory, and back in Florida at Laugh-In Comedy Club, Comedy Cafe in Fort Myers for Christmas week. If you haven't already, review, subscribe, tell your friends, be my best friend. Email me at pfarahvar@gmail.com and check out our sponsors. Hey, gang. If you know me, you know I'm a caffeine junkie. I have pop, soda, Diet Coke, energy drinks with every meal. Had it since I was a kid. Can't drink plain water. Just not a fan. I'd rather give up a side dish like fries at a meal than give up my pop because I need my energy. I need my caffeine. Focus sparkling water is sparkling water with a spark. Focus is a delicious, health-conscious, thoughtfully caffeinated sparkling water. Yes, caffeinated water, infused with a boost of natural tea caffeine and the balance of L-theanine. You'll get the clean energy you want without the sugar, calories, or crash. It has 75 milligrams of caffeine, 0 calories, 0 sugar, 0 sweeteners, and it's non-GMO. So ditch your sugary sodas or energy drinks that are overloaded with sugar and ingredients that you don't know what they are or how to even pronounce. Focus. Sparkling water, natural caffeine derived from tea, gives you the same boost as an 8-ounce cup of coffee in a refreshing, thirst-quenching form. Your body needs water. Doesn't mean that it has to be boring. So check it out. They've got a wide range of flavors, including blood orange, mixed berry, cherry cola, crisp apple, root beer, grapefruit, yuzu and lime, cucumber, and my favorite, peach. You can find it online at drinkfocus.com. That's focus with a PH, OCUS.com. Located in 4,000 grocery stores, including Publix, Kroger's, and Giant Martin's. Also available at Meijer, and they will soon be in the Mariano's in Chicago as soon as January, I believe. So check it out. Drink Focus. You're welcome. I want to tell you about a podcast called Behind the Bits Podcast with Scott Curtis, my friend. I've done the podcast. It's every week. Scott Curtis talks serious with comedians and folks in the comedy business about the craft. You'll learn about why they got on stage for the first time, about their writing process, as well as how to get booked and unique self-promotion tricks that worked and those that didn't. He talks about these subjects and many more every episode. Behind the Bits won the Discover Pods Award for Best Interview Style Podcast in 2020 and been heard in 28 countries. So check it out. He's talked to legends who paved the way, new sensations, and everyone in between. That everyone in between, that's me. Check it out. Check out my episode, Behind the Bits podcast. Whether you're a new comedian, working comedian, or a comedian nerd, you'll find something valuable for Behind the Bits. It's all on all the apps, thebtbpc.com as well. Check it out. Scott Curtis, Behind the Bits podcast. You're welcome. Hey guys, it's time for another edition of Singles Only Podcast. I'm Paul Farahvar. We're doing this by Zoom, so if you're listening via Zoom, you can go hop over to my YouTube page at youtube.com/Paul F Comedy to watch it live. If anything, you need to see this guest's mustache, and that's reason alone to watch it if you're just listening to it wherever you are. But anyway, I've said enough. If you haven't already subscribed, do all that good stuff. We don't have time for that right now because I'm excited to have this guest on. He's a host of the podcast Dirty Sports, stand-up comedian, hilarious guy, owner of one of the finest mustaches in comedy, Joe Praino.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Thanks for doing it.
I felt like Chris Collinsworth entering the Sunday Night Football booth, the slide in.
Yeah, I like to have people come in however they want. It's kind of like my nod to the talk show format. I feel like you're a podcaster, you know.
Yeah.
So Joe, you and I met in Florida, in Naples, Florida, a couple of weeks ago. We did a couple shows together with our friend Eddie Ift, and one show good, one show okay.
Yeah. I feel like it flipped on us too. Like I feel like the first show we did a Tuesday, Wednesday, which was weird. I think that's the first time I ever did like a, headlining type of show. Obviously Eddie was our headliner, but just a host feature headliner Tuesday, Wednesday. Tuesday was dicey for me. Apparently I was anti-woman in that show. And then Wednesday was way better. And I feel like Eddie thought the opposite.
I agree with you on everything. I thought Wednesday was better. But I think he had more fun on Tuesday.
Yeah.
To give people an idea, the average age of that crowd was 68, 69. But there was young people sprinkled in and out. And out of nowhere, one of the young people chimes up during your set. And you're like, what was that all about? But
yeah, it was weird.
It perfectly. You will not be canceled, even if you did say anything questionable, which you didn't. So
well, yeah, I didn't think I said anything. And we just came from a very liberal town in North Carolina, in Wilmington, and no one said anything. Yeah. And then we're in Naples, Florida, in a room full of senior citizens. And I was like, I thought you guys were anti-cancel down here.
Right. It's just kind of one of those things where I think that venue, they're eating, so they hear bits and pieces, and they didn't hear your setup properly, or they heard the setup and then they're like, wait, what did he just say? And then anyway, but that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about why you're single. You have a great mustache.
Yeah, thank you. That's certainly not it.
tall Italian handsome fella. You're out in Los Angeles, City of Angels, city where Italian people strive, I assume.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I'm a New Yorker originally, definitely more Italians thriving in the tri-state area, but yeah, we do okay in Los Angeles as well.
So why are you single?
That's a great question that I ask myself and my therapist. And, I think that part of it is you get to a certain age, and then like when you're younger, you're very much a hopeless romantic, and you're like, this is it. This is everything. And I remember being in my early 20s and breaking up with a girl and just feeling like totally devastated, like just shattered. And like,
she broke up with you mean? Or
yeah, but just like, in general, like I remember just like the younger day, no matter what, it was always bad. And then as you get older, you're like, nah, whatever. It's fine.
I think we get hardened at a certain point where it's like, I enter relationships thinking, how badly will this end? I always try to mitigate the damages and keep the expectations low for myself and for the other person. And I feel like, there's not a lot of crazy highs and a lot of crazy lows when you do that, but maybe that's not the way to live.
Yeah. I always go pretty, full bore into it, and then the opposite. And then it's usually pretty disastrous.
What's the longest relationship you've had, Jeff?
I guess the longest be I dated a girl 20 in my 20s for like on and off for like probably 7 years or something
Oh,
like
wow.
that.
Okay.
But that was like, a couple years here and then a year break and then like a couple years again. But that's probably all in all the most
Okay.
significant.
What about since your brain has been fully formed post 25 years old?
Um, that's when we get into like the 2 year, 3 year
Yeah.
of like over and over and over again.
Yeah. Since do you go right into a relationship or is there time off between these 2, 3 year relationships?
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's one vine to the other, and there's definitely been a couple of situations where I was like, no, now you need a moment, take a deep breath, uh do the single thing.
Why do you think that is? Are you like you like being in relationships or you just kind of fall into them?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't I feel like I feel like whenever I'm in, I'm like, no, not really. But
Yeah.
I think that just um, there's a little bit of social pressure that you're supposed to be doing that at a
Right.
certain time, and then also like, yeah, it's something I want. But it's like when each one's obviously um its own adventure. So
Sure.
then, like you go into them all with these good intentions, but then, whatever happens. So it's like, I feel like uh, after the fact, it's always like my next move is always based on my last experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, I feel like I'm never going to do that again.
In your mall analogy, you go in with the greatest expectation. Is that where you rob a lid store? What happens at this mall? I don't understand. What
Did I say
happened?
mall?
I thought
Did
you
I
said
say
you
them?
go into the mall with. Oh, you go into them all.
I'm going into them all.
Oh, I thought you went
Yeah.
into a mall with good intentions. I'm
No,
like,
that's good too. We can make it a mall. We can make it a mall thing.
I
Like
just
I
like
go
you
into the mall,
shopping.
I look at the directory of possible relationships, what
Yes.
floor I want to enter.
I was like, wait, what happened at the mall? I'm
You
done.
are here. That's
All right.
right.
That's my bad. That's a technology gift, Jeff Scafo. Um, okay,
No,
so
but I've definitely had a couple Spencer Gifts relationships. I've had a few. I've had a few champs.
I'm sorry. Like as soon as you said that, I'm like, wait, what happened? I'm dumb. I'm pretty. I don't know. I thought I heard mom, but you went into them with great related intentions. Um, do they all kind of end the same way, or are you like have you learned from your experiences?
I definitely have not learned from my
You're
experiences.
doing the same shit every
I
time.
feel like I am. Yeah, at least in the past, I don't know, 10 years.
Okay. Do you want to get married and have kids? Is that in the spectrum?
Definitely always wanted kids.
Okay.
Always wanted kids.
Okay.
Not sure where, religious ceremonies and government contracts
Sure.
play into this. I'm just one of those people where it's like, what does that have to do with anything?
Sure.
Um, and also, I'm one of those people that's like, it seems like having a child with somebody would be the greatest contract one would ever need to sign. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like the idea that you think anybody would value paperwork over the child that we share
Right.
is crazy. But I understand that not everybody agrees with that. Certainly women. The women want they don't even want a marriage, right? They want a wedding.
Yeah. They pictured that wedding since they were 12 years old. If a guy says that, hey, I can't wait till my wedding, you're like something
We
weird. Something's
we
not right.
we pictured our bachelor party, right?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. I think honestly, when I look back on the fact that I probably won't get married because I think it's an outdated institution, I just look back on two things. One, I'm never going to get the gifts back for all those weddings I went to. And number two, like how fun would that bachelor party be? Because I'll pick all the things I want to do. Because I've been the best man or organizer of 7 bachelor parties. And like some of the stuff these guys pick are so dumb. I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh, why are we doing this just because you're supposed to go to a strip club? Come on,
Yeah.
let's go fucking skydiving, or let's go to the mall. Let's go to Spencer's.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Let's go to Spencer Gifts. Yeah, it's we're certainly at a point now where it's like we've seen the pitfalls, we've seen the fails, 7 of them. Like you're
Yeah,
like, we don't need to do this, we don't need to do this. We did Vegas, it's not worth it.
right.
This is where we go. But like you said, it's like you get to some point, and you go, do we
Yeah.
even really need to do that?
Yeah, I just want a guy's trip. You just want to do a guy's trip. And unfortunately for me, all my friends that I grew up with are my closest friends. They're all married, and like getting them to go anywhere for a trip more than once a year is like really hard for people that have kids and are married and
I
have
think we
buddies.
need to normalize, and maybe like the number, like 40 seems too young these days. 50 maybe seems too old, considering like, just how much energy we have. Maybe 45 is the number. Maybe I'm saying that because I'm 42, but
Yeah,
maybe 45 is a number where it's like, if you haven't done one, like if you haven't been married one time, so you don't get to run it back, but you should get a bachelor party where
party.
all your friends are like, no, we'll pay for you to go to Vegas.
Yeah, they should have a party like for, yeah, like when I have a big show, like I always guilt people in that are married. I'm like, hey, this is probably the closest thing I'm gonna have to a wedding. So I went to your fucking destination wedding in Cape Cod and you got divorced. So I think you owe me. So
Yeah.
that's like, yeah, but we don't have that. You're right. That's a good, we should normalize 45. My friends and I did a trip when we all turned 40. We went to Austin City Limits, and it was literally probably the best trip of my life because you're older, you're not like crazy drunk and doing every drug imaginable. You're selecting the ones you want to do, and you have money, so you can.
Yeah, and you have money. It's so important. You're like, hey, we don't have to like stay 10 guys to a hotel room.
Oh, we still did that, but
Yeah.
no, like the decision making process was so much easier. It was just like from Cancun and spring break for when you're 21 or whatever. It's totally different. But anyway, we got off track here. So you want to have kids?
Yeah, I've always wanted. That's something I've always wanted, and now, you know, I'm 42. It's like I've got the nieces and nephews,
Yeah,
and so
right.
the question is like, you know, do you take it on? Do you still like even worry about that, or you just go like, oh, just be the coolest uncle of all time?
That's what I've leaned into. Like I just I take them out all the time, and now they're older. I mean, the whole reason to have kids is like, so you can stay young and have your, name continue, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um, but you can do that with having your own lives if you have a lot of nieces and nephews. So
yeah. I feel like it's sharing your wisdom too, like passing
yeah,
on the things you learn. And I feel like with nieces and nephews, there's only so far you can go. Whereas, like, if you're a dad, it's like, hey, listen, this is the way it's going to be. But
yeah.
also, my oldest niece or my nephew is like 8 or 9 now. So we
Oh,
still
okay.
haven't gotten to like, you know, teaching them to drive and
Yeah,
talking about smoking pot or like why mushrooms are great for you and things
yeah.
like that.
I'm
Like,
little. My brother is a lot older than me, and his oldest is 16. But my nieces are 6 and 13, and so actually they're in Florida where we were at. So I was just like, cool, I can get home in time to like go get ice cream with them and spoil them, so they remember me, and maybe they'll be around to take care of me when I'm alone, like in a nursing home at
yeah,
75. I mean, assuming I'm alive, who knows? I don't know if I
yeah,
want to be, but so you want to have kids. You're not consoled on the marriage thing. What are you doing to make that a possibility, given that you probably don't want to start having kids in 10 years?
right.
So you have a
Yeah,
limited time frame.
I'm not doing anything whatsoever. I'm just I'm just trying to survive. And like maybe that's part of the issue too, is like I feel like everybody I know, especially the women, it's like, this is my timeline, this is when things have to happen by, and this is whatever. And it's like sometimes I'm always I should get on this tomorrow. And then I'm also at the same time, our life in comedy with the road and, unless you're, six guys, you're kind of grinding. It's like
Yeah.
also go on, take it on. So there's like, I feel being older, I'm a little bit more cautious with just like diving into it. But at the same time, it's like, this is when you need to be less cautious because, not that there's like a window shutting, but like also, yeah, I've always fancied myself as like the dad who would, you know, play catch with his kid and like,
Yeah.
toss batting practice and stuff like that. And I'm
Right.
like, man, I'm getting sore, when I throw one to him. So
Right. Yeah. You don't want to be the old guy. My brother had his last kid when he was 48. So, and he's not an athlete by any means. He couldn't throw a ball when he was 20, so it doesn't matter. But
I also have a friend of mine who he actually does a joke about it, about being the super old dad and just like dying when he's a kid, and now you're a legend forever. Like you go out, you die when your kid's 14. It's just like, man, I'm going to do everything for the memory of my dad.
right.
I mean, obviously, you'd love to see. I don't know. It's like, I maybe when I have a kid one day, I'll be like, of course I want to watch this kid graduate high
Right.
school and college and get his job and get married and all that. But like, I don't know. My dad passed away a couple of years ago. He didn't see me get married, and it's
Right.
like, I don't think he's like was devastated by it.
Well, you also it depends on if it's a daughter or a son. I think you want to see your son get to a certain level, but I think when your daughter's 14, you don't want to be there for all those like dudes that are trying to sleep with your daughter and
For
having
sure.
to like explain why guys are dirtballs because you were there and you're like, I was a guy too. You don't want that conversation. But
Yeah.
yeah, but then again, you don't want to be, around when your son's 22 and, he's going to rehab. So,
Right.
so maybe you do want to be dead and gone. I don't know. It's a tough decision. But, and you
Just,
talk,
when I hit 75, I'll take my 8-year-old to the mall and walk him around
let's make
and be like,
you went in with good intentions with your son, and then you're like, hey, let's rob this Gap. So let me ask you this: if you talked about the grind and how our schedule, we talked about this a lot on the podcast. These last women that you dated, were they regular jobbers? They had 9 to 5s, or were they creatives? I think in LA it's a little
yeah,
easier.
more the last few more creatives than regular jobbers. I've had the 9 to 5ers as well, which obviously always there's always a rift when you're a comic and they're like a 9 to 5er or like work, because now it's like, oh, what did you do all day?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, when you're both around all day, that's not better. Like you need that separation,
Yeah. But if you live with a person, yeah, that's a little harder. But
yeah. Which I've done now a few times.
Yeah, you talk about that in your set, that your last one didn't last the lease.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
And there's and in my set I do there's and I have tons more that I don't do in 25 minutes, but it's like it's an amalgamation of women who've like the troubles of living with women, which are endless for me at least.
Doing it though, why you I mean, you've done it a few times now. That's a huge step to take in a relationship, whether it's 1 year in or 2 years in or less. It sounds like you've done it in less.
Yeah, I've done it 3 times, all for different reasons, all gone bad.
What are the possible reasons you can do it?
Well, the very first time was moved out here to California from New York with a girl. We lived separately there. We moved in together out here. It was like, we're going for it. You know what I mean? and we lasted a year, but like
Mostly
barely.
because
Like,
of the lease.
yeah, like we like she stuck around after, but it was, the time was up. Like it went sour pretty quickly. And that was that was like we were talking about. She was 9 to 5. She'd go out every day. She'd come home. I'm in LA. And when you know what it's like going to a new city to do comedy, like a lot of the legwork isn't in the writing the jokes or the going to the shows. It's like the meeting the people who have the shows, hanging out at the Comedy Store patio and doing this. So it's like, so what did you do tonight? You went to a comedy club when you weren't on the show and just got drunk.
You did a guest spot for 5 minutes and you didn't get paid? I don't understand. Yeah.
And why did you have to stick around like 4 hours? It's like, yeah, because I have to meet all these other people in hopes of getting other 5-minute unpaid guest spots.
Yeah. And the list goes on. Okay, so that was your first time.
Yeah.
Again, you went into the mall with good intentions there, it sounds like. What about the other two?
Second one, I had said, like, her lease was up and she was like, hey, we should live together. I was like, absolutely not. I just did this. It didn't go well. At the time I had found myself like this garage studio in Venice that was like the best living experience ever, where the lady who ran the place was like, it was the house, there was a main house and then there was like a studio in the garage, and the main house was an Airbnb. And she was like, you can do work on the garage and whatever money you spend on it, I'll take off your rent. And also anytime somebody comes in and out of the Airbnb, if you turn it over, fluff the pillows, change the sheets, make sure like there's no dishes in the sink, I'll also take like $100 off your rent. Wow. So I had this pretty boss like garage studio in Venice right off Abercrombie that some months I paid $100 for.
Right. Sometimes we were getting paid for the work. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, this is a perfect situation for me, for a guy who doesn't make a ton of money. Like, I'm not doing it. And then within, I don't know, 15 days, the lady was like, listen, I'm going to move my boyfriend in. You're out. And I was like, no. And then so suddenly I was like on the street and she was like, so about living together. And I was like, shit. Now, how do you say no?
You think she planned? In hindsight, do you think she was involved some way?
No, but it certainly worked out for her.
It seems like a conspiracy, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the landlord was just kind of also a terrible person as well.
Okay.
I said when I moved in there, I was like, I just feel like I'm gonna like turn this raw garage space into like a pretty awesome apartment, and then you're gonna kick me out. She's like, no, that's not gonna happen. And that's basically what happened.
Right.
He was like, oh, it's super cool and like livable now.
Maybe I'll live
I'm gonna move my boyfriend in, and because she like traveled or whatever, so she just needed somebody on site. And her boyfriend's like, that's a pretty cool apartment, I'll take it.
Yeah. Oh God. It's okay. So that's two. What happened the last time?
The last time was, definitely like almost a combo of the two. Like, pandemic, was in an apartment in Venice. Venice got real bad during COVID. There was, cans of soup flying through our windows and stuff like that. It was like
really
riotous, as well as like the stay-at-home order apparently was if you were homeless, that's your home, so you have to stay at home. So like they were letting people in Venice just like build out structures. Wow. And I would say every day somebody's like bamboo shack on the beach like caught fire. And I was just like, it's kind of like I'm living in a war zone. And so I was like, I kind of want to get out of here. And she wanted to get out of her situation. So then it was another like, well, okay,
this makes sense. And then it doesn't. So you won't do that again, barring some extremely painful circumstances.
Yes.
Okay.
The 3 strikes and you're out. I was like, okay. I was like, stop this. Stop the insanity.
I think it's shame on you the second time, but whatever. You can do 3 in yours. So what are you doing how do you normally meet these women that you've dated? Are you meeting them like online or in real life? What are you doing?
Real life, almost exclusively. I don't think I've ever met anyone online that ever was anything more than like a couple dates. I really never did the app thing like at all. Like there was a moment where I think I was on there and I was just like, oh, this is not for me at all.
Really?
Yeah. And I feel like the reason why is like everything about me that sets me apart, like it is not as good on paper as it is in person. You know what I mean? Like I have to write my height in my bio. You know what I mean? I've got to.
That's good.
Yeah. I'm a tall guy, but it's like, oh, now I've got to. Like, you don't want to just be like, plus I'm 6'4". Like, so whereas in person, you approach somebody and you're like, geez, you're tall.
Right.
Like, and you're outgoing. And I feel like everybody's outgoing on the apps.
Where you benefit, in my opinion, and I was very anti-apps for a while, but where you benefit is you are a stronger writer than 99% of those people on that app. And you're quicker with your wit than 99% of those people on your app. Plus you have height, plus you have a mustache, plus you're good looking. Like you would clean up. You would have a lot of options on certain apps, the ones where you can like, fill in all the blanks and it also saves a lot of time, I think. But
also my thing is always like,
there's a question where it says where you want children and you don't want children. So you already eliminate a lot of time wasted where you gotten comfortable with someone and then you're like, oh, well, too bad we don't want the same things.
Right.
2 years later, moving out of your Venice home.
I did it, and I don't know, maybe it's like a different time now. Like I feel like it was relatively early on. It was like the Tinder.
Oh yeah, like that's a hookup app.
Yeah.
Like Hinge is a good one. I mean, some of those you can put enough in there and then the people that put their stuff out there, it's like, and it's perfect for someone who doesn't want to spend a lot of energy on it because you dictate how much time you spend on it. Before the pandemic, the only times I would ever be on the apps were like right before I'm going on stage when, the host is going over his time. I'm just sitting there like waiting to just get out of my brain, or like in the bathroom. Like that's literally the only time I did it. And then
I've got a buddy who's got a good joke about that. Like
wife,
finding his wife while he was like going to the bathroom. Like, how did you guys meet? Well, I was on the toilet.
Yeah.
And I saw your mom's beautiful blue eyes.
Right. I mean, there's something to be said about it. But I don't know. I think when you've been on them for a while, like I have, like you see the red flags right away. And then also the priority level too. Like some people are on there, they respond right away. And if you don't respond for 2 days, like, what the hell? I'm like, well, listen, like this is, I'm like slow burning. Maybe we'll meet someday, maybe not. I don't know. But right now my priority is, comedy.
Yeah.
So.
And I feel I'm out and about so much.
Yeah.
That it's like, it's not like I have a lack of, but it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm working so much so then I can't. It's like my job is going out into places where people are drinking and having a time. I mean, I've met numerous people doing stand up,
sure,
or out at the club or whatever. And so, I guess we'll see if that's if the app pool is.
Well, it's different. It's a different setting, like because at a show, if you meet someone, they just saw you at your best, and is that a good thing? Like,
right?
If they're not going to approach you if you bomb, they're going to approach you if they were attracted to you, and then what's that do to set the expectations? Like, they're like, wait, you were way funnier there than you are right now at Taco Bell. Like, what's going on? Like. I also think there's something to be said of that. Like on those apps, people are like, tell me a joke. I'm like, go fuck yourself. Like I'm not your monkey.
Well, and that's the other thing is like, and this, like we're both guys that have good careers and comedians know us and we have our own fan bases. But like, if I asked my mom, well, actually my mom saw you in Naples, but we'll take that out of the equation. But like if I
Lightning?
asked, she thought you were great.
All right.
But if I asked, a random person on the street who you are, or you asked a random person, they might not know you. So I feel like also sometimes when you're on the app, it's like, oh, you're a comedian. It's like
Yeah.
saying, it's like when I see a woman who says like, I'm a CEO. It's like, oh, did dad help you start a purse company? Like,
Yeah, I think you're right. I think especially in LA, I think I had a friend who wouldn't put that he was a comedian. He just put like in LA because like everyone's a comedian. You're like, okay. So you put like Uber driver just to be like, I'm not dealing with this shit. But I
Yeah.
think it's different where you go. So you're right. I think that side of the argument about putting comedian on there, it's tough. I think you're right. But
So you're telling me I did it wrong by putting comedian and then only putting shots of me with a microphone on stage.
I mean, I have one shot of me on there, but it's like later in the thing, I think. But again, when I'm in, I have it set in Chicago, and 90% of the time, someone will know me or know someone I know, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we saw you at Laugh Factory or whatever." So it's like I'm already either working up or like working against something that was said about me. That like, "Oh, you dated my friend." You're like, "Well, I wouldn't call it dating." And
Yeah.
you're like, you're just dealing with that. I don't know.
And it turns out she wasn't my soulmate, which
Yeah.
I'm still looking for.
That's a good right. That's a good way to turn it. Good. I'm writing that down. Wasn't soulmate. Good intentions.
Women love to hear soulmate. You're like, what do you want me to do? She just wasn't the one.
Yeah. I think that you're gaslighting them into thinking that's what you're looking for. But in your situation, maybe you are. I mean, you are looking to have a kid. I'm not. I'm trying to avoid any of that. Well, so what are the things that you look for when you date? What are your red flags now? What have you learned?
Oh, I literally just said this the other day. I think my newest and latest and like maybe top of the list red flag is like if you absolutely love Taylor Swift.
Really?
I can't. Because especially right now, and I'm noticing it, it's like this, have you seen this thing? I mean, you're on all the social media. There's a 10-minute dragging.
I saw the
Jake
song.
Gyllenhaal. Like,
oh yeah, I saw the song and the video during the SNL. I watched that, but I didn't see what's going on.
It's like a 10-year-old song, and now it's 10 minutes, just like dragging Jake Gyllenhaal for like stealing her scarf when they dated for 2 months or something like that.
Yeah.
But my thing, it's like, and this has happened a lot, and you meet a lot of women who absolutely love her. It's like there's something about her. It's like for some reason women love her so much, but yet she is the most self-involved person like in the history of the world. Where like I think anybody who's like, yeah, this is what you should be doing all the time is just like living inside your own head, like taking your relationships and turning them into huge cinematic dramas that you think the whole world needs to care. I'm like,
not a fucking scarf.
Yeah. I'm just like, no, like sometimes people date and it doesn't go well and that's it. And it's over.
I used to say that I wanted a better songwriter to date Taylor Swift so we can hear that side of the story. Like be like, what about the response? Like, especially with Adele, like whenever she had songs, I like automatically sided with the guy. I'm like, well, what did you do? Like,
right.
But that's funny you said that about Taylor Swift because I just talked about that on my candy show where I said if someone says Snickers is their favorite candy bar, because I think Snickers is okay, but it's overrated. It's a marketing scam.
For sure.
I'm like, I could already tell someone if they say Snickers is their favorite singer is Taylor Swift. Like, and I said,
they're incredibly basic.
Yeah, that's like, watch it tomorrow. It was recorded years ago, but literally that's what I said. I go, it's a basic candy bar, and you're a basic bitch. But like, we did the Snickers episode on Sweet Opinion. So if you see that, I've like literally said the same thing. So parallel thinking. I just didn't want to do that. So Taylor Swift is a turnoff. If they like her, it's okay. Just if they're obsessed with her, it's too much.
Yeah, but honestly, even kind of like, if you're and I come up to Miley Cyrus. That's my walk-up song.
You do that. Yeah. So mine was Party in the USA for years.
That's really?
Cool. Yours is Wrecking Ball, but Party in the USA is my go-to song for like a lot of stuff. But
I have said about Party in the USA, and I am a Miley stan, and I think it's because it's almost it's almost my response to this out of control like Taylor Swift love. I'm just like, but look at Miley. She's like the what Taylor's pretending to be, but it really is. You know what I mean? But I've said there's all this debate about the national anthem now, and then there's the Black national anthem, and there's division. And I'm like, I understand the argument. Like, we can't have 10 national anthems play before ball. I was like, we need to settle on one patriotic song that everybody agrees is awesome. And I think it should be Party in the USA.
Amen.
Let's just play that before the Super Bowl.
It's the greatest. I spent a night about 4 years ago just learning. I play guitar. I learned all the riffs of all that song, like in just one night after a show. So like it was like 4:30 in the morning, and then I put it on Instagram. I'm like, what did I do on Friday night? Party in the USA, because it's one of my favorite songs. It's like no matter who. It's kind of like those one thing when you take over a party and you're a DJ or something. That's like no one's gonna be like, oh, who put this on? It's like a win-win anywhere you go, I think.
I think maybe you'll have to tell me what app it is where I can just do like a poll, like Miley or Taylor, and immediately
see how it reacts.
Immediately just go, oh, okay. I know it's only going to be 15 or 10% of people
that's your demo.
That's my pool. And then I can just go, now we've cut it down to this small subsection.
You could put that on the app Hinge. Be like, if you like lose my, swipe left if you're Taylor over Miley, and then you'll find your. And if someone says my favorite song is Wrecking Ball, you're like, that's my walk-up song. It's like game over.
Yeah. And that I feel like Wrecking Ball is a great walk. I talked about that on Eddie's podcast about how I used to love that song, and then he would troll me by having people use it as my walk-up song.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And now I'm like, bro, you think that's trolling me?
I love it. Yeah.
I was like, it's the best idea ever. I'm gonna use that until something better comes along.
I always like I used to say, if I go up, I'd be like, I'll do anything by like the Pumpkins or like Beastie Boys. But then if you don't give them direction, or if it's someone I don't know, they pick like the worst song. So then I just started saying Party in the USA, because it's like, then they're excited about it too, because they're like, oh, this is funny. I'm like, it's not, but I just know it's got a good. But then you got to go up at the right time, because the start is too long. But.
Exactly what that's what what's the GM in Naples, Dennis,
yeah.
He figured that out night too. I forgot when I said I wanted Wrecking Ball. I was like, oh, you got to start it when she goes into it, because otherwise the beginning's like
the chorus. Yeah, I think it's at 42 seconds, something like that. But okay, so no Taylor Swifties. What are your other deal breakers?
It's a great question.
What about music, comedy taste, like TV?
No,
any like pop, political
smokers? Absolutely no. That's like a hard no.
Looks like you would be a smoker.
I look like I would be
Marlboro man. Yeah.
Yeah. My mom's a smoker, and it's just something like I was the kid at like 5 years old who's like faking, put down the window.
Wow, okay.
So that's like a hard no, but also like in LA in 2021, that's like
that's not an issue.
Yeah, unless you're like dating like the rock star girl, and then I mean, comedy. There are certainly, I don't want to name names, but there are certainly, if somebody was like, oh, you're a comedian, I love blah, blah, blah.
Right.
There's a couple people.
We say Jeff Dunham on this show, because I feel like that's one that he's doing so well. Us shitting on him isn't going to hurt us.
Right.
But some people are like, well, actually, it's pretty funny. I'm like, I've never seen him, so I don't know. I just know that he had a racist puppet once.
Yeah, there's certainly some people like that. I would say you're more likely to win me over by saying I like this comedian and just like having a baseline of knowledge and being like, oh yeah, they're funny. I like this and this and this they do. But there's definitely 2 or 3 or 4 that I would be like, yeah, if that's your cup of tea, I don't think we're gonna work out.
What about sports? You have a podcast. What if they don't give a shit about sports?
That's great for me. I don't care that you don't care. Like it's cool. Like I've done the super sportsy type, and I've done the whatever. Like in the end, you're not going to want to watch as much sports as me. So it's all that always ends up being like a conversation. Like, so there's Monday night football and the NBA is big on Wednesdays. There's Thursday night football. Friday is like Saturday, and Sunday have football. Like, so, they're in my relationships almost exclusively. It's like, how much sports can you watch? And I'm always like, well, I pay most of my bills talking about sports twice a week for 90 minutes. So I kind of have to do this.
Right. It's your job.
But yeah. So like being anti-sports, being like, oh, sports ball, that whole like,
I hate when people say sports ball.
If you say sports ball, that's a red flag. Like, it's a red flag that we're not going to work out.
Fair enough. All right. I've got a hypothetical for you, and we're almost out of time here. So you meet a girl. She's gorgeous. What's your type physically? Do you have a physical type?
I mean, similar to what I said before about like my, it's always kind of based on like variety's the spice of life. So usually different than the last one.
All right, fair. So let's say this like subjectively and objectively beautiful woman comes up to you. You meet her after the show. You just crushed at your home club, and she loves sports. She's wearing your favorite jersey. She's a Knicks fan. I don't know what your thing is.
Yeah.
But telling you how Patrick Ewing is the GOAT, and you're like, yeah.
Okay, that's a strong play.
Everything's well. She's saying that he got robbed when Pippen, posterized him, all that stuff. She knows all her shit.
It was an offensive foul. She comes with that was a charge. I'm like, okay, we got.
Yes, she says it was a charge. She got robbed.
She's in a women's cut Ewing jersey. Okay, are you
Knicks, Patrick Ewing? She's got his Georgetown jersey. That's how deep she is. Listen,
be still my heart.
And she loves all the same comedians you like. Everything's great, and then she's like, hey, I have big ass for you. Like, my favorite artist is Taylor Swift. Will you come to see her at the Hollywood Bowl with me? What are you gonna do?
I mean, at this point, honestly, I think I would have to. It's tough. It's tough because you know what? I feel like the build up, like it's too good to be true. Like the whole beginning, it's like it's just too good to be true. I feel like this could be just the most epic of failures. You know what I mean? It's because now
want to have a kid in 2 years, like everything. And she's a former Division I athlete. So like your kid.
By the way, that's my type. That's what now we're talking. Yeah.
All right. So she's a former athlete. She played volleyball.
This is what we're talking about. Volleyball. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's.
Taylor's like she's obsessed with Taylor Swift. The 10-minute video that you're talking about, she has the uncut version, which is 57 minutes, and she watches it like pretty much every time. Like when you're watching NBA, she's on board, but when you go to NFL, she's like, I'm gonna watch more Taylor Swift. But you can hear it in the background. You can't tell her to turn it down.
I'd probably take her up on the offer, and then either on our way or after the show, I might have to go like full Jehovah's Witness and be like, do you have a moment to talk about Miley Cyrus?
She's not anti-Miley. Like some people.
Great. Yeah, I mean, listen, that's a huge red flag, but like now you're balancing it out with a lot of like green flags.
Yeah, you got to make your call. Everything else is on board. I mean, like she was a number one setter at UConn volleyball. Division I.
I think basically what you've painted me the picture of is just a relationship that is going to be so wonderful until it crashes into the biggest ball of flames of all time.
And then there'll be a song about it, and she'll write, and she's also a songwriter in this hypothetical all of a sudden, and she's gonna write a song about you.
That's kind of what I'm looking for, is like a former volleyball player that now writes piano music.
Joe, we are out of time. I want to take you through more hypotheticals. We got to do this again. And
that was a strong hypothetical. I'm not going to lie. I'm picturing a women's cut Georgetown throwback. I'm like, I need to see one of those.
I don't know why I thought of that, but where you have to go on Hinge, set up a thing. By the time we're going to have you back on, and I want to see what happens. Go on one of those dates and then tell me if I was wrong. I could be wrong, but I feel like you have strong opinions and you have strong things that there is not your soulmate, but like your person that's there. I don't know how you maybe list yourself as a podcast. So I don't know if that's better than comedian. But
Yeah, just independently wealthy.
yes. Where can people find out about your upcoming shows and your podcasts and all that good stuff?
All of my social media is at Joe Praino, except for Twitter. I'm at Fix Your Life because Joe Praino was taken. And I've got a podcast that airs twice a week, normally Mondays and Thursdays, called The Dirty Sports Podcast that I do with another comedian, Andy Ruther. We talk all kinds of sports. And if you follow me on social media, or if you like sports and you listen to the podcast, you'll hear all the places and see all the places that I'll be performing. And hopefully, if you're a former Division I volleyball player that owns a throwback Ewing jersey, and you want to come to see a show, tickets are on me.
All right. Thanks, Joe, for joining me on the podcast. And thank you all for listening to another edition of Singles Only Podcast.
Hey, all, you guys know that I used to be a lawyer. Still am, but, kind of just in the background, if you will. But my friend, Scott Shapiro, he is a full-time lawyer. You guys maybe have injured on the job, need compensation, or you're just injured somewhere and you don't know what to do. You're entitled to way more money than you think you are sometimes. Not always, but most of the time. And my friend, attorney Scott Shapiro, has been helping people for over 20 years in this regard. If you've been injured, give him a call, 312-648-8800, or email him at scott@scottshapirolegal.com. He's a full-service law firm, so in addition to doing workers' comp cases, PI cases, he also handles all legal needs, including entertainment law. That's right. He's an entertainment lawyer. He's worked on a lot of musicians' cases, a lot of contracts, negotiations, and reviews of contracts for your needs, whether you're a comedian, musician, all that good stuff. All his consultations are free of charge initially. So don't take a chance and wait. Call him, 312-648-8800, or check out his website, scottshapirolegal.com. Call him today. Tell him I sent you. You will not regret it.
I'm still standing. Got my feet tucked in this ground. No, ain't nothing but the